Hi, and welcome back to the Vital Vibes podcast. I'm Dr. Kelley Coble. I'm here with my husband, Ian Coble,
Hi there.
and today we are going to talk about cavities, otherwise known as dental caries. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you that although I am a dentist, um, all the views expressed here are purely my own opinion and should not be construed as medical advice.
So get your own doctor.
With that being said, I have a lot of people who ask me questions about cavities. And so I really wanted to dive deep into it because it's a very common issue that patients have. And I think it's a super important place to start. Last week, we laid the foundation for how our body is a whole system. So we can relate that to our dental cavities today. And I think it'll make a lot of sense combining last week's podcast with this one and hopefully give people some insight on what they can do to understand why they get cavities, where the treatment options go from here, and how do we not get them in the future.
Well, before we jump down the rabbit hole of the podcast, what's going on with us? We always start off kind of
Yeah.
what's new in life.
What's not going on with us?
That's why I'm asking.
We just came back from my daughter's graduation. She graduated with a degree in biology down at Chapman University in California. So we have your future dentist brewing. I think she's actually sleeping right now.
Think possibly.
So yeah, she's catching up on her sleep. We have been building our sauna, which is a huge part of, when we talk about environmental help. So we've been working on, we decided to build the sauna
We
ourselves.
thought it would be a fun idea to do this ourselves, and
It
I
is fun.
think it is very much fun. I think um, the delayed gratification of having a sauna that's been sitting in the garage now for probably 6+ months.
A long time.
um
Yes.
but at the same time we were figuring out how to do this ourselves and kind of channeling God, what was this old house, who was the host on that? Bob Vila.
Oh, Bobby.
uh,
Yes.
we need Bob. um
I actually used skills I've never developed before. Actually, not true. I feel like all the skills needed to build the sauna are dental skills,
oh,
just
interesting.
on
Okay.
a bigger level.
Hmm.
So everything I do is on like the microscopic or like small level, but then the sauna is just like a gianter level. I don't think that's a word.
Giant. I was gonna flip you
I
some
have
crap
not
for
had
that,
all
but
my
yeah.
coffee yet, so do not judge me right now. But I think everyone gets the picture. Like it is just like a bigger level of construction
Yes.
that I do every day.
Hmm. I've had to like tone you down a little bit because you are so focused in dentistry down to like the nanometer,
Yes,
and measurements are so finite. And now in like carpentry, we're like, I don't know, I'm like,
there's
it's within
flexibility.
3 inches, and you're like, 3 inches? Oh my
Seems like a
God.
mile.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, it's fine.
So having like the nail be 12 inches plus or minus a little bit is driving me insane. That's why we haven't got the sauna done, I think. But we're gonna get there.
Eventually it will be there. And in the sort of whole body wellness thing, we'll have our own little,
Yeah. I'd
thing to
love
help take care of us.
love to have a sauna podcast in the future.
Mm,
I think that would be really fun.
agreed.
But I do feel like we need our sauna up and running before we do our podcast.
The practical daily experience of it rather than the novelty of going and getting a sauna session like once every couple of months.
Absolutely.
Hmm. Anything
So,
else going on? That's about it, I think.
oh gosh, the practice is going on and your art gallery
Oh yeah. Mhm.
is going on. So,
I
and
am also, don't know that we've discussed this in the
no, I don't
podcast at
think
all. So I started working in professional photography 26 years ago. And it's recently pivoted from advertising photography to fine art photography over the last, I don't know, what would you say, year or two?
Yes.
So I know that has absolutely no bearing on what we're talking about right now, but that is something that is currently also in the background.
Yes. So we're working on getting the gallery opening ready
Mhm.
and then this.
All right. Well, should we dive into
Yes, let's
what
dive in.
what is a cavity, or also known in the dental field as a carie?
Yeah, dental caries. That's what your dentist will say if you come in. They might say you have caries on tooth number 4, but what they're really talking about is a cavity, which a cavity, a lot of people ask me about them. It is just a hole in your tooth.
Okay.
And that the theory of cavities has really evolved over the last 100 years.
Hmm.
Um, Cavities started like way back in the day. There was a dentist who said, like, cavities are caused by something acting on your tooth, and he figured out it was a bacteria. So he's like, a bacteria comes in and it makes a hole in your tooth, and that's what a cavity is.
It's not from trauma or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And so he sort of said, okay, what's happening on the outside of the tooth that's causing the hole in the tooth? And they called it the acidogenic theory. And that theory sort of stuck for a really long time, like almost 100 years. And the American Dental Association picked it up, and they said basically that the bacteria will produce an acid, and that acid will eat a hole in your tooth.
Okay.
So that's kind of where it all started. And then it developed a little bit because there was some other research that was done. It's like, okay, so we have this thing acting from the outside that's destroying our tooth. But then there was this really great dentist called Weston Price, and he came around and he said, I want to see in certain different places around the world why there are some people who have cavities and some people who have no cavities.
Hmm.
So
Why
he
certain populations?
totally.
Hmm.
So he wanted to look a little bit deeper than just what's attacking the outside of the tooth. And he went around the world and he looked at different peoples who were like more remote from civilization. And he looked at particularly peoples who did not have cavities.
Hmm.
And he's like, what do all these people have in common? Because if it's just a bacteria attacking the tooth, do they have different bacteria? What's going on?
What's underlying? I
Hmm.
remember I studied a little bit of this. I was an anthropology major in college, and biological anthropology was a big focus of that, at least for my study. And looking back at a lot of like hunter-gatherer populations or native tribes that were still relatively cut off from the modern world, having different experiences with their health based on the rest of the population.
Yeah, it was really, I mean, it's brilliant
Hmm.
what he did. And he found that there were a lot of populations who had no cavities. And not only did they have no cavities, but the shape of their head was different in their airway.
Hmm.
And he was really detailed with his research. And
Remind me his name again. I'm sorry.
Weston Price,
Thank you.
and he was able to show that some of these peoples did the same thing regardless of where they lived in the continent. So, or in the world even. So they all had some things in common, and they all had a lot of fat soluble vitamins,
Hmm.
and they all had this thing he called factor X, which we now know today is probably vitamin K2.
Okay.
And they all had a protein, whether it be a butter or a fish or an animal. And he was able to determine that like maybe nutrition had something to do with the whole like process of getting decay. So maybe it's not just a bacteria eating the tooth. Maybe nutrition, plays a big factor as well.
Okay.
And what they didn't have was processed carbohydrates.
Hmm. They
So
might have simple carbohydrates,
they did, yeah.
but they were not what we have in today's world of a processed carbohydrate.
not at all.
Hmm.
And in fact, they were completely isolated from synthetic or processed carbohydrates. And so it was just really interesting that he put the, two together and he's like, no refined sugar. They have either an organ meat, fish, animal, or raw dairy.
Hmm.
They ate really nutrient dense foods and their body and their mouth developed properly. They didn't get decay and they didn't have problems with, their airway.
When you say properly developed
Hmm.
airway, can you kind of put that into terms a little bit more?
Yes, he noticed that they had room in their mouths for all their teeth plus some.
Okay. So crowding, I know a lot of people in the northwestern hemisphere, the United States, Canada, um, if you have wisdom teeth, a lot of times they're extracted
Right.
because there's not room for them. So in these past civilizations, wisdom teeth, or not past civilizations, but I'm sorry, uh, societies where you had these dietary conditions, the mouth and the airway were developing to the place where wisdom teeth had room. They weren't
Correct.
needing to be extracted, they weren't causing problems. So, um, wisdom teeth extraction is more of a modern problem than something that's gone on for millennia.
Correct.
Okay.
And they went further. Like there was a guy, Ralph Steinem, he was another researcher, and he said that sugar, causes cavities. And so he did a lot of research with rats,
Okay.
and because rats and people get cavities the same way. And so he took these rats and he's like, okay, I'm going to feed them a 62% sugar diet.
62.
Mm-hmm.
Why 62?
Because
Was 63 already taken? Or
I have no
okay.
idea.
Ralph, can you explain this to us, please?
And he fed the rats the sugar and say off the 62% the rats got 6 cavities. He's like, "Okay, interesting. Rats with no sugar did not get the cavities. Rats with the sugar did get the cavities."
Okay.
So he's like, "Sugar is part of the problem."
Hmm.
So then he went ahead and said, "Well, what if we didn't feed it to the rats? What if we injected it into their stomach,
So bypassing the mouth altogether.
not touching the teeth?"
Hmm.
And what was fascinating is 62% sugar in the stomach, none of it touching the teeth. They still got the same amount of cavities.
Okay.
So then he went even further and he said, what if we inject it into the cavities around in the body? Not the stomach, not the teeth, just in the general cavities. And he found the same thing. And
So regardless of where this 62% sugar
mhm,
was being injected, it was still leading to the same amount of decay.
that's right.
Okay.
And so there was some proposal that it wasn't just sugar on the teeth. It wasn't just now bacteria on the teeth, but it might be a whole body issue. Go figure, right?
Yeah. It was very similar to what we were just talking about last week.
Yes. And some of Ralph and his friends went as far as saying that there's a flow of fluid in the tooth, and the flow of fluid comes from the body into the tooth and then flows to the outside of the tooth. And that if the body chemistry was off, that flow might be going the other way,
Okay.
coming from inside the mouth where all the bacteria live and then into the tooth.
Okay.
So the fluid flow could be reversed if the body chemistry was not quite right.
Okay.
And so now you have a tooth that they're saying is more than just a little piece of, you know, enamel in your mouth. It's actually an organ.
It's not an isolated island on its own. It's working, communicating, and taking information and nutrients and everything from the rest of the body as well.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
And that it's an organ. It's a vital living organ
Hmm.
with flow through it, just like any other organ in our body. And along came some more controversial dentists like Hal Huggins.
Hmm.
He actually, if you were to Google him, he actually lost his dental license because he disagreed with the American Dental Association, and some other things led to the loss of his license. But he did a lot of work on body chemistry. He was also an immunologist, and he said not only, is the body chemistry important, but it's everything. And that the fluid flow through the tooth is controlled by his theory was the parotid gland in our mouth and protein, and that there was a balance of phosphorus and calcium that kept the tooth from getting a hole in it.
Okay.
And he disagreed so strongly with the way that, typical dentistry was going that he caused a lot of controversy. And, eventually he did lose his dental license. But to the day he died, he, swore by some of the ideas that he had found throughout his practicing career.
Mhm. And so we kind of went over the evolution of research and thought.
It keeps
Any,
going.
yeah, is there any sort of current um definition other than just it's a hole in the tooth caused by bacteria? Is that's the working definition that we want to stand by for the time being?
No, I mean, I think even the American Dental Association has evolved where they're saying it's multifactorial.
Okay.
It's it's not just one thing. It's many, many things because we are connected teeth to body. The entire chemistry of the body is going to affect the health of the teeth. And the American Dental Association is starting to see that. And we can take it even a step further and start looking at it from a blood chemistry standpoint. And eventually we can get to the work of Jack Kruse, who really talks about the energy and the environmental factors on the body and taking it down even to a deeper level of, okay, if we're not getting the sunlight we need, if we're not getting the light we need, the mitochondria aren't working, the protein transport's not working, the parotid gland's not working, the flow of the tooth isn't working, and really like getting to the deep, bottom of why we get cavities.
Well, let's start there then. What are the causes of decay of caries in the mouth? Let's start at square one.
Well, I think if you put all these people together, I think we can all agree on one common factor of processed carbohydrates.
Being
Sugar.
the number one cause.
Yes.
Okay.
So none of these theories really make sense without processed food being thrown into the mix. So I would say, in my experience, that the biggest way that we can prevent cavities is to avoid processed foods.
Not just processed sugar, but processed foods in general.
Processed foods in general, but refined sugar is really the
And
problem.
not just refined sugar, refined carbohydrates. So even something
Yeah.
that's in like a pasta that's still going to have some of that refined sugar that you're referring to.
Well, here's the problem is that people are eating refined sugar all day
Hmm.
and not even thinking twice about it because they're not eating candy.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not eating pixie sticks and
Yeah.
starbursts, so I'm good.
No,
It's in
exactly.
everything else though. And
Exactly. I
yeah,
mean, I have patients who try so hard to be healthy and they're not looking at the ketchup that they're using every day, which is full of sugar. They're not looking at the hamburger bun.
we were even just talking about like people that are like vegetarians and they're eating like a salad every single day, but the salad
Yeah.
dressing that they're eating has like 24 grams of sugar in every single serving, and that doesn't negate the healthy diet doesn't negate the amount of sugar that's going in.
100%. And it's not just the sugar that's landing on the teeth. Like we've just talked about, it's the sugar that's going in the stomach, the sugar that's changing the biochemistry of our bodies. A lot of patients will really try to be healthy, but they have to realize that every single thing that's coming off the shelf at the grocery store has sugar. And
unless you're cooking it yourself from scratch, if you're just getting it from the grocery store shelf.
it's sugar, and they always say what? Shop the
I was
edge
just gonna say that. Yeah, if
shop
you're
the
in a
edges.
grocery store, shop the
Mhm,
edges, go the perimeter, because
mhm,
all of the main aisles that go parallel down the store
mhm.
are where you've got everything that's refined and processed. But if you stay on the outside in the vegetable department, the fruit department, around to the meats, and then
Yeah.
around to God, I don't even know what the other side of the store would be.
Well, it's really about eating an alkaline diet, which, and for those of you who don't know, an alkaline diet is just a green-centric diet.
Grain centric?
Green,
Green, thank you.
green. Eat from the sun.
Okay.
Photosynthesize
hmm
like a plant.
How does protein factor into that alkaline diet?
Well, it's fascinating because as we talked about earlier, protein was shown by several different researchers to be super important in keeping people cavity free. But I'm also not a huge fan of eating gross amounts of protein.
Mhm.
And you don't need gross amount of proteins according to any of these studies to have the tooth help that you need, but you need some.
Yeah.
And plants have protein, but with my vegetarian patients, I'm rarely able to keep their cavities under control. And I'm all for a vegetarian diet,
hmm
but because it's so complex in getting the right amount of protein, I find that a lot of my vegetarian patients just don't have time for it.
hmm
And so they avoid meat, as there's a lot of good reasons to avoid meat.
hmm
But they don't have the time to actually work out the ins and outs of the diet. So they end up not getting the phosphorus calcium balance that we were talking about,
Okay.
which is partially according to Hal Huggins, influenced by the proteins. And so they end up being very difficult to keep cavity free.
hmm
And I find a lot of my vegetarian patients, and certainly this isn't all of them, do rely on more processed food for, their general diet. Of
hmm
course, I have some who are very green centric.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think there's always going to be an outlier here and there that, but as a
Mhm.
whole, from experience, I do think, yeah, um, there's difficulty in getting the balanced diet strictly from a vegetarian diet without, not saying it's not possible, just
Totally
saying
doable.
it's not easy, and a lot of just saying you're vegetarian doesn't necessarily mean that you're
Right.
balanced then.
It's not as intuitive
hmm
as to getting the diversity that we need. And I would argue that the hunter gatherers had quite a bit of diversity
hmm
because they were constantly looking for food that was available at the time it was available.
I know I've fluctuated with my diet, and I've gone very paleo or carnivore heavy, especially in like CrossFit training and trying to build more muscle. And um, I also have always like looked back and like, well, hunter-gatherer societies, this is what we were meant to do. We were meant to eat meat. And yes, but at the same time, if you also take that same argument of hunter-gatherer societies also had big shortcomings. They didn't just kill game every single day. They'd kill their woolly mammoth or their tiger or whatever, but then they
Right.
might they might go a month without meat, and they'd have to subsist on berries and nuts and roots. And so there was a lull in that versus the current carnivore diet of I eat my body weight in protein
Yes,
every
I've tried
single day,
that.
as have I. It's very difficult to maintain.
I have done that.
And I think that's
Mhm.
probably there's probably, I mean, that's a whole different conversation, but it is also it's just difficult to eat that much protein. And I think there's probably some long-term um problems if that was your diet
My opinion is,
24/7.
yeah, there's a problems with that. I've done that.
hmm
And we get into a whole nother ball game of what is sitting in our intestines and for how long.
hmm
Like in my opinion, having rotted meat from
That's such a beautiful analogy.
thank you. Fermenting at 98 degrees
Mm,
in our intestines. In my opinion, that's not the answer.
okay.
But I've been there. I mean, I lived on, 140 grams of protein a day while I was doing a lot of CrossFit and lifting, thinking I was doing a good thing for my body, and I've changed. I've changed my mind.
Mhm.
I reserve the right to change my mind at any given moment.
I just bought chips the other day, and you're like, "Yeah, I used to like those.
I
I
didn't
don't eat
say it.
those anymore."
As my body has gotten more attuned to eating what I would call real food, because we were never meant to eat the food on the shelf.
Yeah.
And as my body's gotten more attuned to, okay, I haven't eaten that in 5 years, honestly, eating it makes me feel sick.
Mhm.
And you found that out when we
I
were on
know.
vacation.
We were just down in
Sorry,
California.
you're
No,
really
I had such a craving. I don't know why, and I don't really get these very frequently, and I don't feel like I'm lying. I feel like you'll back
I
me up.
will back you up on that.
But for some reason, the flaming hot Cheetos, like I saw them in the grocery store, and I'm like, "Oh, I need those." Like I'm like, I'll justify it. I haven't probably had these in like 5 years, and I've been eating healthier and healthier and healthier over the last 5 years.
Agreed.
And oh my God, my stomach hurt so bad. And I'm almost like there was like a I don't know, yin and yang. It was like, God, I used to love these things. And now I can't even look at them.
No, it happens. And I think there's a few things we have nostalgia from food.
Yeah.
And
They remind us of a time or a place or a
they
memory
do.
or yeah.
And people are like, well, how do you eat alkaline? How do you stay away from sugar? Like, I crave it. I need it. I want it. It's fun. I don't want to live so restricted. And I'm definitely going to argue for the other side that you're actually more free when you're not burdened by the processed foods that you think you're craving.
No, I think you still have the cravings, but you start finding out the cravings that also don't upset the balance as much. And I think there are some
Yes.
things that are, you know, maybe Cheetos are on one end of the spectrum, and there's something that's a little bit, maybe it's an avocado oil chip instead, and it's not going to wreak such havoc on the gut biome, but it still gives you that like, oh, there's the crunch, there's the oil, there's the fat.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. We need to enjoy food.
it's not, yeah, I never want to get to a place where it's just like everything is about denying um the pleasure of food. There's still ways of getting the alkaline diet that you're talking about, of a healthy, balanced diet that's vegetable heavy, hey, uh, without it being just this like burden of monotony.
Absolutely. In fact, I would argue that it's even more interesting
Hmm.
once you get into the vegetable centric diet and see what's out there. And it's funny because like I have patients who are like, I I lost all my teeth. I would do anything to get my teeth back.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's the same with health. Once patients get sick or they have cancer, they tell me they would do anything to get their health back. And I just don't want people to wait until it's too late.
No, analyze, listen, and make changes while you're younger,
Yes,
while you still have the ability to alter the trajectory, the course,
agreed.
rather than waiting until it's gotten past the tipping point, past the critical mass, and then where it's reactionary only.
Agreed.
And you have the ability to make these small changes throughout the course of your life that will alter what your future looks like.
I agree. And when you're young, you haven't built up the toxic burden
Yeah.
that you build up when you're older. You have a chance to change the trajectory really at any time. If you haven't passed a critical level, you have the ability to change your trajectory.
Hmm.
And I just would rather see people focus on that time than when they have passed the point of no return.
Yeah.
And I think teeth is a great place to start because cavities are just a signal that there's something wrong inside the body
Hmm.
and that, you need to change your trajectory
Hmm.
or your health is going to go downhill.
Okay.
It's a great signal to me and to my patients that
Of something's wrong in the body.
there's something wrong in the body. The biochemistry is off in the body. And if we don't fix it, I can fill a cavity. Like that's my job.
Hmm.
It's a hole in the tooth. And what I do is I go in there and I clean out the soft, mushy cavity and I fill it.
Yeah.
And I can do that all day. And I do.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, that's not solving the problem. Because if you don't change the environment, you're going to have a cavity on the same tooth the next year.
Hmm.
And
So we've mentioned, diet being the primary thing.
yeah.
What else is going to be a major factor in getting decay in someone's mouth?
So if you look at the work of like Jack Kruse or people who are really looking deep into the mitochondrial level, getting back to having good circadian rhythms, getting morning sunlight.
Okay. Is that because it's setting the clock of the body? It's also feeding the mitochondria that are generating energy for essentially um, defense and staving off infection.
Yeah, you want healthy mitochondria, and that relates to getting your circadian rhythm back.
Okay.
So I would argue, that screen time and outdoor time also affect getting cavities.
Hmm.
And aside from changing your diet and getting your circadian rhythm back on board, introducing the nutrient dense foods like we talked about, but also I think choosing what kind of dentistry you fix the cavities with.
Okay.
So I want to be really specific about this because this is super important. Everybody has things that their immune system reacts to.
Okay.
And what your immune system reacts to is not the same as mine.
Yes.
So if I put this filling material in your tooth that's generally considered safe for most people, but it causes an immune reaction in your body,
Hmm.
that is an issue for you. I propose that you could be less healthy.
I agree. Before we go down sort of the treatment of a
Yes,
cavity, you're getting a little bit ahead of me, I think, and
as
I'd like
usual.
to yes, exactly, go back a little ways. And I know we talked about light, we talked about diet. I know there's a
Yeah.
lot of other factors in
Okay.
cavity, and
Yep.
I don't want to go past them.
Yep.
I know,
Let's talk about them.
yeah, thank you. I know that one of the things you had mentioned was medications. So
Yes.
medications causing dry mouth.
Yeah.
Can you backtrack a little bit?
Let's totally go back.
Thank you.
Let's talk about like how do we not get cavities besides carbohydrates, not eating carbohydrates. Um, there's a few other things that are super important, like you said, medication.
Hmm.
Almost every medication causes a dry mouth.
Hmm.
So it's given the more medications you're on, the the drier your mouth, the less saliva you have to combat the issues that are going on the tooth.
And saliva acts like a buffer, essentially,
It's a
right?
buffer.
Explain that a little bit.
So you need the proteins that are coming in the saliva and the pH of the saliva to buffer the acidic environment that we established earlier.
Okay. And is that acidity spiked when you eat?
Yes. So
Okay.
every time you have a snack,
Hmm.
you have an acid attack. And we're going back to the acidogenic theory
Hmm.
that we've moved beyond now. But if you want to look at it at a very basic level, like if you're eating sugar, there's going to be an acid attack on the teeth if you want to look at it on a very basic level,
I know you
not
always pitch
including
this,
body chemistry.
yeah, to clients of
Mhm.
every time you eat, you're getting flushed with
Yes.
an acid attack.
And if you have a dry mouth, there's no buffer.
Hmm.
So your mouth is very acidic. And if your body chemistry is off, the saliva is not as good a quality. But let's pretend like your body chemistry is pretty good and you just eat a bunch of sugar. Is there something?
Sorry, the cat just stepped down there. I wanted to make sure she didn't turn off our recorder. Sorry, all we've mentioned cats, I think, before, but
I
she's down here.
fed her right before we came in here so that she would
Leave us alone.
leave us alone.
Didn't work.
That's another story that we've been dealing with
Forever.
forever.
Anyways, I'm sorry. So you're getting this spike of acid
So yeah, you don't
without the
have the
saliva,
saliva. So
but even with saliva, you're still getting that flush, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
so the saliva is going to come in and try to save the day.
Hmm.
Provided that your body chemistry is good,
Hmm.
the saliva comes in and saves the day, so to speak.
Hopefully.
Not completely true. Like we already talked about the organ. I'm not sure if we talked about this yet or not, but the tooth organ having its own flow of fluid.
Not we touched upon it, but
Mhm.
not completely. No.
So those little organs out of your teeth have a flow of fluid, and the flow should go from the inside of the tooth out.
Yeah.
But if it's coming from the outside in because your body chemistry is not right, it's going to bring with it like the bacteria and the problems that are in the oral cavity. It's going to bring them into the tooth.
Hmm.
So it's not just acid, but it's also the flow of the fluid through the tooth.
Hmm.
And when you have a dry mouth, you can't buffer that acid and the flow is going to be the wrong way.
Okay.
So, in short, we're on a lot of medications now.
Hmm.
My patients are typically on 4 to 6 medications by the
I'd agree
time,
with that.
yeah,
By the time they're in their 40s, sometimes even younger.
almost all of them cause a dry mouth.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting that patients go off their medication.
No.
Not That's not the goal here, but the goal is, are there certain medications that can be substituted? That's something that my patients ask their physician, first of all, that don't cause a dry mouth as bad as, say, another one.
Hmm.
And are there medications that can be switched?
Hmm. And for patients that don't, I know you prescribed, is it xylitol?
Xylitol is one thing that people use to help buffer and help, when you do have a dry mouth. But at the end of the day, we're going back to whole body health. Why are you on all these medications?
Yeah.
And I would go as far as to say that the sugar that we're eating is contributing to patients going on all the medications that they're on.
Hmm.
Not everyone, obviously.
Yeah. Um, this is sort of a tangential conversation off of what you were saying. We were talking about dry mouth, and every time you eat, you're getting this, flood of acid that's affecting the teeth.
Right.
What are your thoughts on like fasting, or at least staging as far as the diet, the frequency of meals?
I mean, I'm 100% on low frequency meals.
Okay.
Personally, I prefer to juice fast in the morning and the afternoon, but I don't recommend that to my podcast listeners unless they're also cleansing, which
Mhm. That's a
is a
later
whole nother
conversation.
podcast.
Yeah.
And then I
Just frequency though.
prefer to just eat, one good meal a day.
Okay.
For the vast majority of patients starting on this journey, it's just eliminating snacking.
Okay.
So have your breakfast. If you don't do nothing else but have your breakfast, have your lunch, and have your dinner, and don't snack in between, you're ahead of the game.
Then you're only getting 3 acid attacks on your teeth in a day rather than 10 or 12 or 15
That's part
every
of it.
single time you
Mhm.
start eating again.
And I think more importantly, you're only spiking your blood sugar, and your blood chemistry is changing just 3 times a day.
Hmm.
So I'm talking about the internal work too, not just the acid on the teeth.
Okay.
So if you did nothing else but change your snacking frequency, it goes a long ways. And then in addition, if you decide to throw on some fasting, wow, like that goes even further because it gives your body time to repair damage.
Hmm. Level out the blood sugar, all of that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to the cells that want to do the garbage removal can come in and remove garbage. They're not busy.
Hmm.
So I would also say if you're getting good sleep, your circadian rhythm is good, you're also giving the garbage collectors time to go in and clean out the garbage.
Hmm.
So I am a huge fan of fasting, whether it be green juice fasting or water fasting.
Hmm.
I think they both have a place and time, and they give the garbage truck time to come around and pick up the trash.
What, as we're still talking about diet, what other things do you see in our practice,
Right.
daily that are just sort of like the big red flags that like every single time you hear a patient, it's you don't even need to ask. You already know what they're consuming.
You're talking about diet now?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the sugar.
I know we would talk about like energy drinks being
Oh yeah.
a big one.
Um, Energy drinks are acidic and they're full of sugar,
Mhm.
and they're going to rot your teeth. Like even Gatorade, all of it.
Yeah.
Um, and we've got a lot of students who are young men, young women, and they're athletes, and they're drinking a ton of energy drinks or even Gatorade for their sports, and they have a ton of cavities.
hmm
They're sipping on it all day. There's a frequency, and their body chemistry is not alkaline.
Yeah.
And so you're getting from the inside out, you're getting destruction of the enamel.
hmm And I know this is, you know, a Pandora's box, probably a larger conversation, but like, what about smoking, vaping? Um,
Right.
how does that factor in?
I mean, their vaping's acidic.
hmm
So, when my patients vape, I see a lot of cavities at the gum line. They're changing their biochemistry from the inside out, and they are also, you know, getting cavities consistently from the dry mouth that's created.
Is there anything that's happening internally beyond the teeth that's also contributing to that?
Yeah, acidic body.
Okay.
So everything addictive is acidic.
Mhm.
And when we have these addictions that cause acidic blood chemistry, we see the consequences in our mouth and throughout our body. It just shows up in our mouth first.
Interesting. So all drugs, essentially, all heavily addictive things.
They're acidic.
Interesting. Okay.
So yeah, if you crave something, it's acidic.
Beyond
Means that with
sugar,
them.
alcohol, drugs,
Yeah.
they're all
All
acidic.
acidic.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else that's sort of going to be contributing? I think
There's
diet's
a
the
big one.
very
I
obvious
can think
one.
of
Yeah,
another big one.
please.
Mouth breathing.
Okay.
So again, it comes down to saliva and the blood chemistry inside of our body. But what Weston Price found when he went to these different places where he had original peoples, they weren't mouth breathers.
Okay. I know we touched about that,
Yeah.
yeah, a little earlier.
And nasal breathing is like pretty imperative to getting the right kind of blood chemistry inside of our body and also having good saliva.
Okay.
So a lot of times I'll see cavities on people who brush and floss, but they are breathing with their mouth open all night.
hmm
And they
That's not filtering the air through the nasal passageway then.
no, and their blood chemistry has changed because of that.
Okay.
And their saliva quality has changed. And they don't have, the flushing in their mouth, and they have cavities.
Okay.
And they have gum disease because of it as well. So, mouth breathing is something that's relatively new to humanity. It's based on the change in our diet, over 100 years ago,
hmm
and how we've begun to have more processed foods, and it's changing the way that our faces develop.
Okay. And it's all diet related.
It's diet related.
Okay.
Yeah. So our faces are getting smaller, our arches are getting smaller. We don't have the airways that we had, 100 years ago.
hmm And does that start at a particular age, or does that start at, right at birth with breastfeeding, or does that go even further back than that?
I mean, I would argue that it goes even farther back than that because the blood chemistry of your mother when you're in utero affects the development of everything.
Mhm.
So if your mother's blood chemistry is very acidic, it's going to change the way that you develop and your jaw develops and your teeth develop.
The teeth, even though babies are born without teeth, there's
Right.
still the foundation of how those teeth are built is being set before they're
Yeah.
even birthed.
In utero, the teeth are starting to develop in utero.
Okay.
So there is a slight, what I would call genetic component if you think of it like that.
Hmm.
Like, I forget what Jack Kruse says, something like the genetics loads the gun,
Hmm.
but I mean, you can put the gun in the gun safe,
You know,
and if
it can be totally safe.
it's totally safe, but if have all these other factors going on, environmental factors, you can have a loaded gun that's not very safe.
Okay.
So I think it starts even earlier, but I will propose that a lot of it does come from the development of children while they are either breastfeeding or bottle feeding. There's things that happen to shape the mouth during that time, and we find that babies who are breastfed develop completely different than babies that are bottle fed.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean if your baby was bottle fed, they can't be healthy and have a great life,
Sure.
but there's a huge developmental component there.
That might be missed.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's missing now.
Um, let's see here. As far as I know you had mentioned that blood chemistry uh sort of played a large role in the
Right.
formation of cavities.
Right. And there's this relationship between calcium and phosphorus that Hal Huggins was super big on. In fact, he predicted if the ratio was a certain way, you would have a cavity for sure.
Okay.
And if it wasn't, then you would not have cavities. And although a lot of his work was discredited by the American Dental Association, he had thousands and thousands of examples of blood chemistry related in cavities. And I think we have to be open to looking at people who tried things that were outside of the box
Okay.
and not just buying into everything they said, but taking a hard look at like, okay, if phosphorus gets, above or below 3 milligrams per deciliter, what happens? Like, let's get curious about that because at the end of the day, I want my patients to have choices about the choices that they make.
Okay.
So I want them to have informed information that helps them make good choices. And if they don't know these things were investigated and looked at and unpacked, then they're only accepting one way. And I think that they're missing a bigger picture.
Okay. As far as the causes of decay, I feel like we've touched on all the
Yeah.
ones that you and I had discussed. Is there anything else that
I mean,
you
brushing and flossing, we didn't talk
that and
about.
that's more the prevention side of things. But
Yeah.
yeah, why don't we jump down that?
Um, yeah, I guess you're right. We did talk about the causes.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty clear that we've covered like most of those. But how then what? Then,
If
how
if we know what is the cause,
yeah.
now what can we do with the cause information and
Mhm.
how can we react to it other than, well, hey, pay attention to your diet, pay attention to your light, pay attention
Right.
to your medications,
Mhm.
to the frequency of eating.
Right.
Now, on the surface level, how
Mhm.
can we still move the needle in the positive direction to, because even if you take all of those things into
Right.
account, if you don't brush and you don't floss,
Right.
even
It's
the best diet in the world is still going to leave you with a mouthful of decay.
I think in this world that we live in, if you don't brush and floss, you're sunk.
Yeah. Hmm.
You have to brush the bugs off your teeth and the sugar off your teeth.
Okay.
And
So what's your, you see it all. What's
right,
what's your expert opinion?
right. I think with brushing, it doesn't matter what kind of toothbrush you use. It just needs to be soft.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, soft toothbrush that you spend time with is more important than an aggressive toothbrush that you don't spend a lot of time with.
Okay.
So, a really soft toothbrush, I'm talking two finger pressure.
Hmm.
Like, you don't need pressure to remove plaque, you just need time.
Okay.
And I will go so far as to tell you, like, you're going to go to the store and you're going to see a whole aisle of toothpaste, and 95% of that toothpaste is pretty worthless.
Well, before you go on to the toothpaste, like you mentioned it, so is there an advantage to having an electrical toothbrush?
I think for most people there is, because it has a timer on it,
Okay.
and there is some vibration that does help take the bacteria off the teeth.
Okay.
So for most people, I would say an electric toothbrush helps in my
Oh,
experience.
positive.
I'm going to call it positive for now,
Okay.
but remember, I have a right to change my mind,
Just like chips.
just like chips. But it does especially helps like my young adults realize that if that timer's still going, they
They
really
still need
haven't
to be
done
brushing.
anything, because
Yeah.
like a 3-second toothbrush is not really going to do that much.
Okay.
So, electric, manual,
But soft,
soft,
so soft bristles, preferably electric.
either.
Okay.
For for people who don't spend 2 to 4 minutes brushing their teeth, let's put them on a electric.
Okay. Now we can go on to
Mhm.
product itself. You said toothpaste. You go down an aisle. There's going to be an
Right.
entire aisle.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on best practices with the product that you're choosing to brush said teeth with?
I just see a lot of marketing.
Oh, of course.
Um, I see a lot of ingredients that may not be helpful. There's sodium lauryl sulfate, which a lot of people are sensitive to. I don't know. There was a major toothpaste brand, I don't want to say who it was, who came out with like these blue dots in their toothpaste, and I would find that like embedded in my patient's gums.
Really
Yeah.
interesting.
And I'm just not, I mean, if you ever go away from toothpaste for a few months and then come back to it, it's it hurts your mouth
Hmm.
hardcore. So we've taken to using like more natural, more gentle toothpaste. Like there's a few brands out there that I enjoy, that are on the market, which we can talk about. But I'm a huge fan of brushing your teeth like my grandmother used to.
And how was that?
So she had baking soda in her bathroom, and I'm like, who would ever brush their teeth with baking soda?
Mhm.
Maybe it's because my grandmother grew up in the Depression. I thought,
I mean, I think there's
yeah.
relative merit to that school of thought. Yeah.
But my grandmother also had all of her teeth until like the day she died.
Hmm.
And there's a couple reasons for that. But what I did notice is that she brushed with baking soda. And as I've gotten more and more in tune with the different ways that cavities are made and the pH of our saliva and the pH of our body chemistry, I've really understood like a lot of these wives' tales are based in science,
There's a good root to them. Yeah.
most of them.
Hmm.
And so why start over when we already know what to do? So I'm a big fan of aluminum-free baking soda.
Okay.
Like the last thing you want is more aluminum. So aluminum-free baking soda mixed with salt. And Hal Huggins was a big fan, not of sea salt, but pure sodium chloride. So like Morton's canning salt.
Hmm.
And he would mix the baking soda with the pickling salt, canning salt, because it's pure sodium chloride.
Okay.
That's all that's in there. And there's not any other minerals to play a role in like, is this causing a problem or is this helping? Just pure salt and pure aluminum free baking soda. And then like some of my patients want it to feel creamy, so we can add some coconut oil. Essential oils are pretty harsh.
Hmm.
I'm a lot more cautious because they are so actually effective that they can kill some bacteria that we don't want to kill.
Okay.
So I work sparingly with essential oils in the mouth.
So
But
if you were going to go with a toothpaste
yes,
over the counter,
yeah,
what would you recommend?
I would look
What would
for,
you want to not have in it, or what would you want to have in it?
right, right. I would look for things that maybe have nano hydroxyapatite.
Okay.
That's kind of newer on the market. but it is a product that for people who have cavities or don't, are trying to prevent them, might find some help in that,
Hmm.
in the nanohydroxyapatites.
Okay. Um, any things that you would want them to stay away from in particular?
Sodium lauryl sulfate,
Okay. Any overly abrasive?
calcium carbonates.
Okay. Anything else I might be missing in there?
Well, if you really want to talk about fluoride, I think we should do that another
I
time.
absolutely think fluoride's another, that's probably an entire other
That's
podcast.
an entire other podcast.
So, but for the
So for now,
fluoride averse patients, which I think that's, as we said, it's a full other conversation with lots
yes,
of reasons not to use it. Nanohydroxyapatite would be the direction you would steer them
for
instead.
now, yeah,
Okay.
that's where we're headed.
Okay.
If you must buy a toothpaste, I think we sell a couple brands in my practice. I think Dr. Jen's is one of
It
them,
is.
Boca.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people like the feel of the toothpaste. They
Mm-hmm.
want to see it on their toothbrush. They don't want to dip their toothbrush in baking
Yeah, I can
soda.
put links in the bottom in the
Yeah,
description, at the bottom of the podcast as well if people want to find the ones
right.
that you're talking about. Yeah.
I think it's much like we have to do now. Like we have to look at our makeup and say, what is in our makeup? Guess what? There's carcinogens in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's things in there that we were never supposed to have in
And
our
yes,
body.
yeah.
So we need to, unfortunately, look closely at everything that goes into our body. And the toxic load that we are facing today is thousandfold
Mhm.
over 10 years ago. So, what can we do to minimize that? And I am of the mindset that if you can't eat it, then you shouldn't put it in there. Shouldn't put it in your mouth and you shouldn't put it on your body. So, when you're looking at toothpaste, sodium lauryl sulfate is a sudsing soap.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't eat it.
Okay.
Um, Other ingredients that might be in there, there's artificial colors and flavors, and do I want to eat that? I don't.
Yeah.
Um, so just like choosing any product, just go simple
Mm-hmm.
to get the job done. And remember, it's not just like what's on the outside of the teeth, it's really coming from the inside
What's
out.
being absorbed as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about floss? Is there any school of thoughts with floss?
Love floss.
Mm-hmm.
It cleans between the teeth and it's really helpful for the gums. So it's going to stimulate blood flow to the gums. It's going to clean between the teeth. And I think if you're not flossing, then you're missing a pretty big part of the equation as well. Yeah.
I always find it funny when we have a patient that'll come into the practice and they're like, you know, do your gums bleed? And they're like, oh yeah, only when I floss. And it's like,
Right.
is there, so I don't floss anymore. And it's like, well,
Right.
there's a reason that your gums are bleeding then. There's an infection there.
There's an infection there.
Yeah.
It's a low grade infection. It's sitting underneath the
It's
gum
not the
pocket.
floss itself that's causing the bleeding.
Right.
That's the canary that's
That's right.
singing.
And then so they don't floss and then what?
Hmm.
Then they have more infection
Do
and
you
more bleeding.
do you have any, for our listeners, any advice on choosing a floss? Again, things to look for or things to steer away from?
I mean, so bleeding is a sign of disease
Yes.
in the mouth. So if you have bleeding, you have disease gums. Um, and floss is a big help in getting that disease under control. Not as big as changing the body chemistry, but big enough that you should floss every day. We have lots of different kinds of floss that we use, but I recommend the floss that works for you.
Okay.
So thin floss works for people with like really tight contacts between their teeth.
The spaces between the teeth.
Hmm.
Okay.
Thicker floss works better for patients who've had bone loss. And I would propose that it's not the floss that makes the huge difference, but rather how you use the floss.
Okay.
So if you're not scraping the tooth with the floss, if you're not actually getting the floss on the tooth behind and the tooth in front and making like a little scraping motion,
Hmm.
then you're not
Like a
flossing
C-shaped
a
motion.
C shape.
Okay.
So if you're just going down and up, you've
You're
really
not getting
done
it into the
nothing.
pocket.
Right.
Okay.
So you got to, hug the tooth with the floss and scrape the plaque off of the tooth between the teeth,
Hmm.
under the gum line and above the gum line. And you can do that with any floss.
Hmm.
My patients like cocoa floss because it's fun,
Yeah. Good flavors, cool packaging.
nice texture.
Yeah.
So,
Sort of our preferred.
I
I think all our staff, that's their favorite.
that's their favorite.
Yeah. I can link that as well.
Okay. And then tongue scraping, because your tongue is one of the biggest organs for detoxifying your body. A lot of things come out through the tongue, and using a nice metal tongue scraper to clean your tongue twice a day
Okay.
is really going to help your body detox. So you can see almost everything on someone's tongue. Really, like you can see the health of their body. And we've known that for a long time, throughout history of medicine, but we're coming back to it because it's a window in, just like the teeth are, into the health of the body.
Hmm.
And the window is amplified and it shows up before other problems show up. So I am lucky to have my job to see what's coming for patients. And then it also makes my job difficult
Hmm.
because I can see what's coming for patients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else that you would suggest then?
So we ask patients to change their diet, to reduce the frequency of eating, to work on nasal breathing with us,
Mhm.
or depending on the problem, to look at changing their medications, to introduce fat soluble vitamins, to get morning light, and to brush and floss.
And what about with brushing and flossing? Anything beyond that? Water picks, oil pulling, anything
Yes.
like that?
Yes. Water pick is great. You're flushing, you're using water to flush the oral cavity. Throw in some coconut oil for rinsing, and I feel like you're doing a great job of getting rid of a large amount of bacteria.
Can you talk a little bit more about the oil pulling with coconut oil?
I can. Like, oil pulling's been around in Ayurvedic medicine for a long time. It basically, if you swish with coconut oil, you can pull out a lot of toxic bacteria.
Okay.
And just imagine like swishing with anything. Patients are always like, well, coconut oil, I don't like it. I love fractionated, like organic coconut oil. I love the way it feels in my mouth,
So not just coconut oil, fractionated coconut
right?
oil.
You want it to be
Okay.
liquid,
Gotcha.
and you want it to be organic.
Okay.
And you're going to swish vigorously with coconut oil to pull out things that shouldn't be under the gums.
Approximately for how long?
Okay, so
You got to ask these questions,
if you
otherwise no one
want
knows.
the real deal,
Yeah.
I mean, you can go up to 20 minutes.
Okay. I don't know who spending 20 minutes
I
just
can't.
going to town on
I
just
can't.
wishing,
It
but
hurts my jaw.
if you if you can, good for you.
Yeah.
Um,
But let's just go for as long as let's just start with a minute.
okay.
Let's start with 20 seconds. Anything is going to help.
Okay.
If you swish with anything except maybe Coca-Cola or something like that, you're going to have a better result. And I would propose that salt water, that same like sodium chloride,
Hmm.
is you know, a great swish when you feel like your mouth isn't very healthy or your throat is sore, because it kills bacteria on the spot.
Okay.
So coconut oil, or some salt water.
Not Coca-Cola.
No.
Okay.
Remember when you were a kid, or maybe you didn't do this,
Are
but
you talking about the science experiment that
yes,
every kid did?
we would put a tooth in water and then a tooth
Coca-Cola.
and it would dissolve.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was my first acetogenic theory class, I guess, ever.
Yeah. I think that like Mythbusters, when that was a show on the Discovery Channel, like used Coca-Cola to like all the different things,
Right?
and it like they took off like chrome on like a bumper or something or so.
Right. So, no, that's not gonna work. We're gonna need to switch.
Switch to coconut
Yeah.
oil. Not
Yes.
okay. Good to know.
And I'm a great fan of water pick because again, it's time cleansing the mouth and flushing the mouth. And I'm a huge fan of water
I think especially,
flushing.
well, water, salt water. I know
Mhm.
we will prescribe that for any patient that either has an infection
Yes,
or has just had surgery. The
everyone.
healing properties of saline
Yeah.
water is massive, but also for just for daily preventative care.
Mhm.
But then also, I know with water pick for patients that either have implants or bridges
Right.
or all-ons.
Those are hard to clean.
Yeah, especially when you have deep pockets that are around implant sites
Right.
or spaces where food is very easily trapped. That's seems to be kind of the best way to be able to
Yes.
flush those pockets out.
Yeah, some of my patients who've had gum disease, they've lost so much bone that the pocket that they're trying to clean out is too big for floss.
Hmm.
Or they've had implants and the pocket is too big for floss. And so a water pick becomes the only way to reach down in those pockets and flush them out.
Okay,
And so we do recommend a lot of water picks.
gotcha. Um, I feel like I've tried to keep us on the cause and prevention of cavities
Right?
for a while, and you keep wanting to go towards the treatment and the
I do.
solution of, and I'd
I
love
want to
to go
solve
there,
the problem.
but I feel like now is the time to let you run that direction while I kept feeling like I was
Perfect.
having to hold back from running there because there was still more that we had to discuss.
I
I
agree.
feel like I can let you go
Yeah.
and run towards that open pasture. How do you treat cavities and decay?
Right. So, what are the answers? Like, I want to know the answers.
Yeah,
That's
how do we treat?
hmm so once you have a hole in the tooth and the hole has gone into the soft part of the tooth, so you have the enamel on the outside, then you have the dentin layer, and then you get into the pulp. So, if the cavity is still in the enamel, and we know when we look at an X-ray that the cavity is almost 4 times deeper than it looks on the X-ray. We know that because we've looked at X-rays and then we've opened up the teeth
Hmm.
and we can see where it appears to be on the X-ray versus where it really is in the tooth. So once we look at the X-ray and we determine that that cavity is no longer in the enamel, but it has permeated into the dentin, which is softer,
Hmm.
we have to do a filling.
Okay.
So a lot of people ask me, well, can I reverse cavities? And today's answer is if they're still in the enamel and you change your diet, then yes, you can.
Okay.
If you have broken through to the dentin, then that tooth needs a filling.
Hmm.
So you go to your dentist and you're like, I need a filling, and there's no compatibility work done with your body, and they just choose a filling that should work for most people. You are gambling.
No, I know I cut you off earlier and I apologize, but I didn't
Mhm.
want to get too far ahead of the biocompatibility
Right,
of the material that you use to fill a cavity. Once we've gone past the stage of cause and prevention, unfortunately, we have decay in the tooth. Now it needs to
right,
be treated. It's not just so simple as fill, take out the decay and fill the hole. It is
right.
take out the decay and now select the best material for you,
Select the best material.
you as you, not you
Right,
as everyone,
right.
because it's going to differ from person to person.
It is. And, I've gone through a lot of iterations in my career. I've gone from using dental amalgam to composites to ceramics, always trying to choose the most biocompatible material.
Hmm.
But everyone's immune system is different. And if you introduce a toxin, let's say the dental material is the toxin,
Hmm.
and an antibody from that patient is made to that material,
Hmm.
and the antibody that's made to that material attaches to that material, it forms a bigger molecule, right? So you've got the material plus now the antibody that might not have an easy time getting filtered through the body, through the
Hmm.
kidneys, through the brain, and through the heart. And so you can make a problem worse.
By filling what used to be decay, you've removed it, you're plugging the hole, but now you've added something that the body is now fighting against.
Right.
Okay.
So I just want to give people choices. I don't know when we got away from giving people the right to have their own choices. If my patients want to get a amalgam or mercury filling,
You're not going to do it,
right,
but
you have a right.
but you have the right to choose.
You have that choice.
Yeah,
If you choose to do nothing, and that's a choice that we give every single patient every
every
single
single day.
day,
Yeah.
that is your right. It is your body, it is not mine.
No, but your job, our job is to educate.
Mhm.
They come to the practice. You have a decay on tooth 14.
Right,
My job is you came to me to ask for my opinion. I
right.
have now found evidence that you have decay. My advice is to do this. However, you don't want to do it, that that is your choice. And I
Oh,
think what I
absolutely.
think is wonderful is that you'll come in and say, this is what I would do. You have the option to not do it. Here is what will happen most likely if you don't do it, and it's your choice.
Right. Like I will tell people, like, you have a right to do nothing. I've been doing this for 25 years. On my patients who have done nothing, this is what happens next.
Yeah.
And and that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
And then you have a right to get a resin filling that has not been tested against your immune system. And a lot of patients choose to do that. They don't want to get the blood work done to see if it's, compatible with their blood system. And that is their right.
Absolutely.
And healthy patients can tolerate a lot.
Yeah,
Mhm.
if your immune system is fully functioning, you don't have any autoimmune problems, you eat healthy, you live healthy, your body can tolerate a lot more than others. Doesn't necessarily
Correct.
mean that it's still the best option for you,
I
but
mean, Hal Huggins proposed that dentistry creates immune disorders
mhm,
by placing materials in the body that are not compatible with that patient's immune system.
okay.
So there are a lot of theories out there, and I think that patients have a right to know them all
Yeah.
and decide if they want to get a blood test against their own immune system and see if the material that's going into their mouth is a good material for them.
Do you remember the name of the test that we use at our office? It's a biocompatibility test.
It's changed because,
The company that used to provide it is now defunct, but
correct, but there is a test that can be ordered
mhm.
through simple blood work that tests the blood against the immune system toxin.
And
So
against every known dental
every
material
known dental
currently in
material.
use, and it spits out like a 26
Yes.
page report that gives like line by line by line by line
Yes.
of what your body favors, what your body is questionable to, and
Hmm.
what your body just straight up says absolutely not to.
Yes.
And for our patients that are either sensitive, that they have health problems that are
Right.
oral related or beyond oral related, it's a really good idea to be able to know like what materials am I going to be placing in my body to get dental work done. And
Yeah, it's available.
it is available at
Hmm.
either our office or a lot of biologic practices as
It
well.
is.
Yeah.
And patients should know that.
Yeah.
And I do autonomic response testing in my office, which is similar to kinesiology. And we can get some ideas from that on what may or may not be biocompatible, but we don't base all of our treatment off of autonomic response testing only.
No, it's a way to like cross check
At,
essentially.
at this point, it's a way to cross check, although I'm finding it to be
More,
extremely accurate.
yeah.
Um, so basically, you have a right to get a filling or whatever the tooth needs. You have a right to know what material may be triggering your immune system. And then, yeah, we need to place the filling. We need to clean out the hole in the tooth and then place the appropriate material in its place. And that material is going to stay in your body until it fails.
Hmm.
And I think, gosh, I cannot remember if it was Hal Huggins or who said it, but they're like that small filling you get when you're 7 years old is like now a $20,000 filling.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
lifetime cost of
Yeah.
a dental restoration isn't just the one-time placement. And
Never.
it's really particularly related to if you don't change your
Right.
habits. If you were to totally change your habits, restorations can last a much longer But
Okay.
if you don't change habits, that simple occlusal
Right.
cavity, this occlusal filling on the biting surface of your molar could be in excess of $20,000 over the course of your lifetime
Likely.
because you're going to go from an occlusal
Yeah.
cavity to it's going to
Maybe it's
grow
just
in
the
size.
occlusal the next time,
Uh-huh.
few more surfaces,
Then maybe mesial distal occlusal, and
then maybe a crown,
then maybe it's a crown,
then maybe it needs a root canal or extraction
and then it's an implant.
or a bridge.
Hmm.
But either way, your materials have to be replaced. And depending on the material that you choose, and if you're breathing through your nose, the materials can last anywhere from 4 years to, you know,
20 or
20
25.
or 25.
Yeah. If you're
So
not taking care of the system as a whole, less amount of time.
a
If you're
year,
taking,
half
yeah.
a year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why do people get cavities when they just had a filling done? I've heard a lot of patients who love to blame their previous dentist. They're like, I had a filling done on this tooth, and now it's a year later and it needs a different filling
Mm-hmm.
on the other side of the tooth. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Wasn't your dentist's
your
fault.
dentist filled the hole when it was on the one side of the
Yeah.
tooth, but nothing changed. And so now you have a hole on the other side of your tooth, or you have a new hole around the seam where the filling and the tooth meet because nothing changed. And so you have a very susceptible spot where the filling meets the tooth. And if it's not being cleaned and the biochemistry hasn't changed, of course you're going to get another cavity in that same spot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a vicious cycle for a lot of patients because most patients, I would say, don't understand that once they've had a filling or a crown, they can still get a cavity.
Mm-hmm.
They think that took care
One
of
and
it,
done.
one and done.
Yeah.
So really explaining to people that not only does is not one and done, but it is likely that you will have more if nothing changes.
Yeah. And even if things change,
You now have a
that
weak spot.
restoration is always going to be weak, especially
Yeah.
like a crown is they don't last forever.
They don't last forever. I don't have anything as good as what you were born with.
Hmm.
And as far as I can see in my restorative lifetime, I won't.
Yeah.
Of course, we're growing teeth in Japan and China,
But that's a totally
but
there's some weird
there's DNA
DNA
that's
manipulation going on with
going
that.
on
Yeah.
there. And we're years and years and years and years away from FDA approval. So in the meantime, we we're working on what we have to work with. And the materials that I have now are inferior to what we
You were
grew
born with.
on our own.
Yeah.
And they're not going to last as long as what your body was given. So we're just doing damage control when you come into my office
Hmm.
and then trying to teach people how to do their own damage control before it happens.
Preventative.
Preventative.
Yeah. Change the habits, change the whole system health rather than because if nothing changes, it's
Then nothing changes.
almost a certain guarantee that it's going to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hear that people, you know, they really struggle with changing their diet because our gut craves the sugar.
Hmm.
But once you take away the sugar and those gut bacteria go away, the cravings also go away. So we're being controlled by,
By our sugar.
by bacteria.
Yeah.
And I don't personally want to be controlled by bacteria. um, at some point, I think we have to look at it and say, what is the priority here?
Hmm.
And what is the end game? I don't like going to the dentist and I don't like getting my teeth drilled on and I don't like spending money on my teeth.
No, I mean, you are a dentist. We own and work in a dental
Yeah,
practice, and we are very aware that most people don't like going to the dentist.
they
We're
don't.
not ignorant on the subject, but
They like me.
this is a different story. And I
Yeah.
think our office is quite wonderful, and we've got a great staff and a wonderful space that's very calming, but at the same time, if someone was given a choice to go to Disneyland or the dentist's office, I don't think that there's going to be much of a debate there for probably 99.99999% of people.
And I think intuitively we know like it's not good to have your tooth drilled on.
No,
It's
something's gone wrong if you are having to sit in the chair
yeah,
and have a filling placed, a crown placed, a bridge. I think unless you're going to the dentist for just your regular cleaning, um,
right,
something has derailed slightly.
right.
Yeah.
And it's just a good clue to get curious.
Yeah. It's feedback
Hmm.
that something is wrong in the body.
Yeah. And it's on some level minor feedback that a bigger problem is brewing.
I think it's one of the almost the first
Hmm.
um signals in the body.
And how awesome
Yeah.
that we can be given a warning
Hmm.
and then have time to rectify the situation
Yeah.
and remediate, the problems that are deeper and get our rhythm back in line. So when you go, yeah, when you want to treat your filling, essentially, I would say, going back to what we were just talking about, is to choose a material that works with your body. Know that there's options out there. And you can go as deep as doing compatibility testing or even as deep as checking your blood chemistry
Hmm.
and looking at that like phosphorus vitamin D ratio. And then there's another cat here.
Cat number two has decided to announce her presence.
So just know that you have choices. And even in the material world, Madonna, no, now we're
Oh,
singing. Um, we can,
you lost me for a second.
sorry,
I gotcha. I picked back up.
we have been listening to music from the 80s all night last night. So it's been on my mind. Even when you go in to get a filling, you have material choices. There are plastics and resins, and there are also ceramics. And so a lot of patients will choose a plastic based on the price,
Hmm.
but some patients will choose a ceramic based on the longevity.
Hmm.
So there's choices that I feel like patients should make themselves
Yeah.
with pros and cons.
Ask the questions.
Yeah.
Do some research. I mean, Google or AI can give you a very long-winded answer with tons of research behind it.
Or just ask me.
Or or ask your informed dentist. Yes.
And I can help you pick the right material for your mouth.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, it doesn't, it, it's not my mouth.
Yeah.
It's yours. And I want you to do what's right for you. So I have answers, but at the end of the day, it's all about choice.
Personal choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
What else can we say about cavities?
I was just going to ask you. I've got, my list of notes here for sort of the outline that we wanted to follow, and
Hmm.
I feel like I've checked off all the boxes that I had previously
Same.
included. Any closing thoughts that you want to impart on the audience?
I think taking responsibility for what's going on within your body as a whole. Um, don't rely on what's going on with traditional symptoms based medicine and dentistry.
Okay.
I would say get proactive
Hmm.
and do your research to take care of you because there's only one you. And
You're your best advocate.
at the end of the day, you're your best advocate. So yeah, find a good provider who can help you,
I think
help
that's pivotal.
give you these choices and then make the choices that make intuitive sense to you based on all the data you've been given.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Really appreciate everyone following along. If you have any questions, I'll put notes in the show description below on whatever streaming service you listen to us on. If you have questions for myself or for Kelley, you can email us at vitalvibespodcast, all one word, at gmail.com. And otherwise, we will see you next week, unless there's any other closing
No,
thoughts that
see you
you have.
next week.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.